Don't worry, the exam is gonna be pretty easy. Only a few questions are gonna be tricky, so have no worries about this. So, grade 9, my dearest students, where did we stop? Yep. So, we have already spoken about the Muslim Empire, we have spoken about the profounding of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the revelation, and last time we have spoken about the divisions that split Islam. We have spoken that some people they thought that Ali radiallahu anhu should be the direct successor for our Prophet, peace be upon him, because he was the closest relative to him, and also he married his daughter Fatima, and he had the Prophet's grandson Al Hassan and Al Hussein. Other people thought that any good Muslim can just become the leader for the new Muslim community, and unfortunately they had argued about the definition of a good Muslim. Later, some people they wanted to have the leader from the Prophet's tribe, because they were the closest persons or the closest people to our Prophet, peace be upon him. Later, we have spoken about the Sunni and the Shiite belief, and we spoke also about the Sufism and how it emerged and what is the meaning of Sufism. Do you need me to revise anything from what we have studied?
I wasn't with you when you're teaching us the Sufis.
Okay.
Yeah, I did
So,
not understand the Sufis. I was with you, but I did not understand it fully.
okay. So, Sufism. Anything else?
No, that's it.
So only Sufism. Okay. So to know more about Sufism, we need to ask just one question, which is, can you live nowadays without your laptop?
Well, technically, yeah, but
Yeah. Can you live without your phone?
yeah,
Can you live without your car?
yeah, but without all of those, I wouldn't be productive, or my
Yeah,
life would be harder. But I could still live.
you can still live. Can you live without your home and a tent, perhaps?
Yeah.
So if you can achieve all of these things, you can live apart from people, you can live isolated from people, you can live without technology, and just spend all of your life for meditation and prayer and performing some sort of hymns and songs for God, then you are becoming a Sufi. Once again, if you can live an extreme life of abandoning all of the luxurious types of life and the features of life, consequently, you are becoming a Sufi. Like Sufism, it's a branch that emerged later. It's not concerning Sunni and Shiite, because there are Sufi and the Sunni and Sufi and the Shiites. Yet Sufism means that to abandon all the luxurious of life and to spend all of your life isolated or abandoned from people, and all you need to do, okay, is just to dedicate your life for meditation and prayer. That's it. Okay.
All right.
And that's Sufism, simply. So again, Sufism, in both the Sunni and the Shiite branches of Islam, there is a group that is called Sufism. This group of people are Muslims, mystics, who sought communication with God through, number one, meditation, number two, fasting, and number three, some rituals. Including these rituals are some sort of dancing, okay, some sort of performing some hymns, songs, okay. All of this are just sourced so that they can communicate with God. And they usually live apart from people, and they lead all of the luxurious life. The most common people right now of Sufism are in Turkey, Iran, and also Iraq. And some people also are still living in Yemen. So they seek communication with God via meditation, fasting, and other ritual. And they they were respected for their piety, and also some were believed that they have miraculous powers. Of course, it is not true. Okay. Uh, Sufism, we can compare them to the Christian monks and nuns, because also the Christian monks and nuns, they live in monasteries or temples, apart and isolated from people, so that they can practice their rituals and their religious performance. All right, that's
I have
Sufism.
a question, teacher.
Yes,
There is a Sufism until now, or they
yes,
finished?
until now. No, no, until now they still exist.
Same
But
who,
now they
teacher?
are no, not the same, not the same as they started. When they started, they were totally isolated. Even if they moved from one branch to another, from village to another village, okay? Uh, Long ago, they were totally isolated, apart from people living in the desert, performing some ritual performance so that they can communicate with God. Yet nowadays, those who exist, they are living in the towns, in the villages, between or among people. Yet they take a different path. That their whole life is about dedication for Allah. And the most common one nowadays are in Turkey. In March 2016, India hosted its first, and they perform this sort of dancing and the hymns. Actually, I like their music, by the way. It's very ritual one. World Sufi Forum. During the event, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi praised Sufism as Islam's greatest gift and suggested that the faith was an alternative to more political extremist interpretations of the religion, akin to groups like the Islamic State. So, what exactly is Sufism? Well, Sufism is not a branch of Islam like Sunni or Shia, nor is it a sect or denomination. Rather, Sufism is the spiritual and mystical philosophy of Islam. It's focused on a direct connection to God by foregoing material goods and relationships. Not unlike Christian monks or other ascetic groups, Sufis dedicate themselves to Allah through meditation, repetitive prayer, and nonviolence. But while the concepts of Sufism are inherent in all versions of Islam, practitioners who wholly dedicate themselves to spirituality are called Sufis. Sufism arose less than a century after the founding of Islam. At the time, many Muslims were concerned with the religion's increasing materialism, which they believed would interfere with a spiritual connection with God. The word Sufi is an Arabic term for mystic, which itself is derived from suf, or wool. Sufis have historically worn wool as a projection of worldly clothing. By about the 11th century, Sufism had adopted the system of fraternal groupings, called orders. In these spiritual schools, leaders taught their followers the principles and rituals of Sufism, which included writing books of poems and reciting hymns. In fact, the 13th century is known as the Golden Age of Sufism, as the greatest mystical Islamic art and literature is believed to have derived from this period. By the 16th century, Sufism was deeply ingrained with Sunni and Shia Islam, and had spread throughout Persia, India, and Central Asia. The most well-known symbol of Sufism is the whirling dervishes, a Sufi order that originated in 14th century Turkey. It's known for its repetitive spinning dances that unite the follower with God, and is a popular tourist attraction in Turkey. Today, Sufis can still be found all around the world. But according to the Pew Research Center, the belief system is most common in sub-Saharan Africa, where about 35% of Muslims in the region are said to belong to a Sufi order. Sufism is also prevalent among Muslims in India, Thailand, and other Southeast Asian countries. All right, so no one must speak about this. Yes, we need this. So those are group, if you can see right now, those are group of the Sufi, okay, and they will perform some sort of ritual or dancing. This dancing, they believe, okay, they believe that the emotions or the motion that they make and the movement make them closer connected to the divine power, to God, okay. They are Muslims, by the way. They are not Christians or nothing, okay. And of course, you can search them. Physical meditation. It is an 800-year-old tradition that was developed in the city of Konya. Okay, so this circle or circular movement make them closer to the divine power. as if they are feeling so much peace inside their bodies. And by the way, they can perform this dancing for more than 2 hours. Just imagine 2 hours of spinning. That's a lot. Actually, I'm gonna be dizzy if I did that. Okay, so that's Sufism.
Wait, you'll be dizzy if
Back
you
then,
did
I'm
what?
not. I'm gonna be dizzy if I did that.
What's that?
The spinning.
Oh, yeah.
I can't do that for more than 2 hours. That's a lot, man. Okay, so that's Sufism simply. But we need to know that back once Sufism was created or started, they preferred to live separate from people, isolated. Even if they moved from one place to another, they usually stayed in some tents outside the villages, and they encounter people more often just to buy their needs. Yet nowadays, Sufism are living in villages, living in towns, in major cities, and they have their method, and also they have schools for teaching Sufism nowadays. Okay, so far so good.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so to speak about another thing. All right, before that's Sunni, that's Shia. So both of us believe that there's only one God. We believe in the Holy Quran, and also we depend upon the five pillars of Islam. Whether you are a Sunni, whether you are a Shia, both of the branches, they have a common uh, beliefs, which are only one God, Quran, and the five pillars. The only differences between them that the Shia believe that Ali must be the direct descendant or the direct leader after Muhammad, peace be upon him, and their imams serve as their religious leaders. On the other hand, we Sunni believe that we are follower of the community customs, and Muhammad is an example as inspiration. So once a Muslim can come and he follows our Prophet Muhammad, he can become our leader. That's okay. He doesn't have to be a direct descendant from our Prophet or Ali or Hassan and Al Hussein. Okay, so that's the difference between us. And that's Medina. Yep. So Umayyad Caliphate creates an Arab empire. To speak about the Umayyad Caliphate, what do you know about the Umayyad Caliphate and the caliphs? I believe you have studied the Umayyad Caliphate before, right? And their caliphs.
Yeah, we have the Umayyads. Were actually like one of the most powerful civilization or most powerful empires
Yes,
in the whole history of all. They were so powerful, and also the
that's a fact.
Ottomans still are
The
like
what?
so powerful, and I'm not sure who, like, from where they extended to where. I'm not sure if that's the Umayyads or like that's the
I'm sure that the Ottomans
the
got up to
Ottomans.
Spain through
From
northern
Spain to
Africa
yeah,
and to Persia. That's the
Okay.
Ottomans, but the Umayyads, I don't really know.
they went.
Well,
They are the ones who went from Spain to well,
Oh, really?
Pakistan or after that, like, right? Turkey. They passed to Turkey and stuff.
okay. So if we went here, good. That's a blank page. Let's bring this one. Okay. Physics 101. Physics 101. Okay. Anything goes up must
Come down.
go down. Physics 101. Okay. If you get a ball and you throw the ball in the air, it will start to go up until it reaches some point and then go back to the ground. Of course, because of gravity, right? So, applying the same principle to all of the civilization, we will find out that the Islamic civilization started from this point. Let's see that that's X and that's Y. That's X. I love mathematics, guys, and that's why. And here, for X resembles time. And Y presented powerful and expansion and advancement, technology, everything. Okay, so that's 0, time. Of course, Islam started, let's resemble this chart, resembles the Islamic civilization.
There's ups and downs. It goes up and then down,
Yes.
and then up and then down and then up.
So, as any other civilization, if we started to speak about, you will find out that Islam started like this. First, it starts from our Prophet Muhammad. Some of his people started to follow him. Then he went to Hijrah. From Hijrah, he went to Medina. After he went to Medina, Islam started to rise, until he died. Once he died, some people started to decline once again. And after the decline, some powerful caliphs came, and Islam started to spread all over the countries and over blah blah blah. Some started to betray people, some started to descend, some, until it became and reached its highest point at Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. After Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, Islam started to decline until it reached that place. So look at any other civilization in the whole world. You will find out that any civilization is to be resembled by the same chart, ups and downs. Yet they start from, okay, simply nothing starts to arise until they reach its climate, and after the climate, they start to decline once again. Some civilization will start just like this and like that, totally vanished, like the Egyptian civilization. Nothing still remaining of the Egyptian civilization but their monuments. Okay, the Phoenicians, all of these people have vanished. But according to the Islam, no, Islam still exists. Okay, but it's not like back ago. Okay, so we can resemble that Islam is just like this. To speak about the Umayyad Caliphate, or the Caliph of the Umayyad, they were very powerful caliphs actually, and they started to expand Islam beyond the common territories. So let's see what they did. Walid, can you start?
Okay. Hello, sorry, my headset disconnected.
Yes.
Umayyad Caliphs created an Arab empire. After the death of Ali, a powerful Meccan clan set up the Umayyad Caliphate, a dynasty of Sunni caliphs that ruled the Muslim empire until 750. From their capital at Damascus in Syria, they directed the conquests that extended Arab rule from Spain and Morocco in the west to the Indus River Valley in the east. Although it also spread peacefully through trade and culture exchange, reaching East Africa as early as mid 700s, these conquests further enabled the spread of Muslim civilization and had an impact on Europe, Asia, and Africa.
So simply after the fourth leader of the Muslims, after the fourth caliph of the Muslims, Ali radiallahu anhu, died, a clan from Mecca, they were the Umayyad. They claimed the power, and they took power, and they had their dynasty established. They ruled from 750, okay, and they were centered in Damascus in Syria nowadays. And this actually tells us about how Syria was a very powerful community back then. And nowadays, nothing remained but ruins. They directed the conquest that extended the Arab world from Spain to Morocco. Okay, we come here. I believe we have a photo here, so there is no need to go to the maps. Yes, that's it. So during them, they were here, originated in Damascus, Syria, and they directed the expansion to Spain, Morocco, and most of the northern Africa. Later, also, they started to move towards Asia and India. So they were very powerful that they started to adapt in new territories for the Muslim people. And of course, they started to reach Africa in the early 700s, and the conquests enabled them to spread Islam. But how was Spain up there? How did Islam spread into Spain? Do you know? How did Islam spread in Spain?
By like making them trust in them, like they weren't seeing them, they always treated them like in a good way. They just showed Islam in a good way in Spain, and then they converted. They didn't go to war or in a battle with them or anything.
Bravo, but who showed them the good way of living in Islam?
Whoever was the Khalifa at that time, I have no idea.
No, not Khalif. Not the Caliphs. Not the Caliphs and no soldiers.
The people, right?
People,
The
yeah.
people,
Which
yeah,
type
the
of
people,
people?
community.
The merchant.
Yeah.
The merchants and traders. Merchants and traders who traded in Spain, okay, they dealt with the community of Spain. And the people in Spain got very astonished by those Muslim traders and those Muslim merchants because they never lie, they are honest, they deal in a very modest way, they are very kind, they are not greedy. So, why are you like this? Why you Muslim are like this? Why? So they started to ask and to inquire until they got to know Islam. And consequently, Spain became one of the most powerful empires of the Islamic civilization later because of just some good Muslims are dealing with the people. So without going there by army, without nothing, but presenting them the good qualities of Islam. If we apply this nowadays, trust me, our communities will have no problem. If we just deal in a very good and modest way, if we loved for each other what we love for ourselves. As our Prophet, peace be upon him, said, love for your brother what you love for yourself. So, the Muslim spire starts to expand. Musad,
Yeah,
yeah, can you please? Muslim empire expands.
the Muslim Empire expands from Egypt. Muslims armies moved west, defending Byzantine forces across North Africa, and 711 Muslim forces crossed the Strait of Caliphate and conquered Spain. In 731, a Muslim army moved north into France to settle new areas. The Christian Turkish forces defeated the Muslims at the Battle of Tours in 732. Muslims ruled parts of Spain for centuries, but advanced no further into Europe. Elsewhere, Muslim forces beside the Byzantine capital of
Oh,
Constantinople, but failed to take the well defended city.
so simply, Muslims they got to the era or to the time that they started to spread their power. We need now to become worldwide and have all of the countries and civilization under our control. Consequently, they started from Egypt at the era of Amr ibn al-As. Okay, the Caliph Amr ibn al-Khattab sent Amr ibn al-As to Egypt, and Amr ibn al-As assigned his cousin. His name was what?
ينفع 75% للعملاء زي المحول
What?
يمول بدون اشتراك.
Oh, sorry, I opened it by mistake.
Okay. So, who was Amr ibn al-As' cousin? Uqba ibn Nafa, I guess. I believe his name was Aqba, something like that. So simply, Amr ibn al-As sent his cousin in order to open these countries, starting from Egypt and heading west towards the Morocco. And from Morocco, he took his army and went to Spain. Of course, after most of the Spanish people were Muslims. Once he went to Spain, he started to go further to France. From France, at the city of Tours, unfortunately, the Muslims were defeated and they went back to Spain and spent in Spain more than a couple of centuries, providing peaceful community, cultivated one, and also some advanced technology in that era. And also they took the city of Constantinople, that's in Turkey nowadays. That's it. Okay, they also tried to take that city, but the city was well defended. Consequently, they reached no further. Later, Muhammad al-Fatih came and opened that same city. So, why the Muslim Empire succeeded? Why did the Muslim Empire succeed? Iyad?
Yes. Why the Muslim Empire succeeded. Several factors help explain the series of Muslim victories. One factor was the weakness of the Byzantine and Pelagian empires. The long-time rivals had fought each other to exhaustion. Many people also welcomed the Arabs as liberators from harsh Byzantine or Pelagian rule. Another factor was the Arabs' bold, efficient fighting methods. The Bedouin camel and horse cavalry mounted aggressive and mobile offensives that overwhelmed more traditional armies. Another key reason for Arab success was the common faith Muhammad ﷺ had given his people. Islam united a patchwork of tribes into a determined and united state. Belief in Islam and certainty of paradise for those who fell in battle spurred Arab armies to victory.
So, simply, why did we succeed as an empire? Why did we open so much countries? We have many factors, including those factors, the exhaustion of both the Persian and the Byzantine Empire, because both of them have been fighting among each other for approximately 681 years. So that's 7 centuries of fighting, which led into the decline of both empires. Of course, the Muslims came, they were united, they were fighting for heaven, not for earthly things. Yet they fought for heaven. We need heaven because whoever dies in battle is immortal, like a shaheed in Arabic, and this will directly go to heaven. So they came, they used their methods in the war, using the camel, the horse, cavalry, and all of these methods in order to open the countries and spread the Islam. And another key reason for the Arab success is the common faith of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that has given the people that Islam united us. Islam is there to guide us to the straight path. Consequently, they fought with bravery. They did not fight for example, all of the civilization we have studied. Okay, all of the armies, all of the soldiers, they fight for the emperor or the leader or the king or the queen. Yet here in the Muslim, they fight for their religion. Okay, consequently, they managed to conquer and succeed all of these civilizations.
Of the largest empires the world has ever known, there is one that is comparatively seldom spoken about in Western media. This empire was of such size and importance that it grew to become the 7th largest empire in the history of mankind. I'm of Arabian culture. Expanded across parts of northwestern India, the Middle East, North Africa, and up into Europe, taking the vast majority of the Iberian Peninsula, modern-day Spain and Portugal, and reaching its furthest extent in AD 750. In the early years of the Caliphate, the Umayyad were led by However, the caliphate would continue to flourish for over 350 years and successfully established an advanced society which greatly enriched the world's scientific, linguistic, and wine and alcohol to society by Islamic scholars. The Umayyads set the stage for an Arab golden age that spread across 3 continents and ultimately turned Spain into the most advanced civilization in Europe. A caliphate is an Islamic state under the leadership of a caliph, a political religious leader. It was during the rule of the Umayyads that the Arab peoples established their first dynastic empire and introduced a national language, currency, and flag. For the most part, there was a great deal of tolerance towards other customs and religions. Both Jews and Christians lived among the ruling Muslim population, most notably in Spain, where, under Umayyad rule, the Jews attained wealth, developed their culture, and even acquired influential positions at the center of power. However, much of Islam felt the Umayyads had been corrupted by their desire for power and luxury, with the ruling class being overcome by various sins, specifically that of greed. In the year 750, the Avocet Uprising occurred and brutally massacred nearly all of the Umayyad leaders. Abd al-Rahman I escaped and established the continuation of Umayyad rule in Spain 5 years later, with the rest of the empire falling under the control of the Avocet Caliphate. From the year 756 until the turn of the first millennium, successive Umayyad rulers in Al-Andalus, or Muslim Iberia, established centers of learning, achieved incredible feats of architectural design, produced surgeons, astronomers, and mathematicians whom the rest of Europe would journey to in order to benefit from their discoveries. Muslim leadership in the peninsula continued for centuries, ultimately coming to a sputtering end with the conquest of Christian armies who reclaimed the region and ended in the late 1400s with the ushering in of the Spanish Inquisition. Both Muslims and Jews were forced to recant their faith or flee the region. As is most probably the case in any civilization's gradual decline, hedonism and moral decay characterized the latter period. Homosexual pleasures were much indulged in by the intellectual and political elite. Rulers openly kept male harems and male prostitutes, charged higher fees, and had a higher class of clientele than did their female counterparts. The golden age of the Umayyads came to an end. However, the Abbasid Caliphate and Ottoman Empire were effectively built upon their rule and expansion and continued for many more centuries. Since the end of World War I, the Arab nations have been struggling to self-govern in a vastly different global landscape. Yet there is one prophecy that points towards an attempt to return, however temporarily, to the more cohesive power of the caliphates. For more information, please request our free booklet, The Middle East in Prophecy.
All right, grade 9. Any questions so far about the Umayyad Caliphate?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, Nawaf.
Who was the leader of the Umayyad?
Well, various caliphs came in the Umayyad Caliphate, and they were tinted, or the name came from the dynasty or the tribe name itself, Banu Umayyah. So, the leader came. Once he dies, his elder son comes to power, or his brother. So we have many of them. The most well known of them is Abdurrahman I.
Okay, teacher.
All right. Any other questions? All right. If you have no question, that's gonna be it for today, and I hope that you enjoyed the lesson. And see you tomorrow.